Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have a book haul. I recently aged another year. I celebrated the anniversary of my birth on Wednesday. My good friend Charlie of Charlie Brook Reads did what she did last year because she knows my family are notoriously terrible when it comes to celebrating my birthday. Seriously, one of the reasons that I don't celebrate my birthday still goes back to when my mother, when I was on my 14th birthday, she had just completely forgotten that it was happening. She came downstairs, she sat down for about half an hour, and then it struck her what the day was. And since then, it's just been this continuation. And it's much better just to ignore the day, because ignoring the day leads to avoiding disappointment. Unfortunately, when you're friends with Charlie, she loves a birthday and she loves a celebration. She had a list of books off me, and then once she'd acquired some, she sent that to my mother and my sister because nobody else buys me anything. I'm going to start with the books that Charlie sent me. Of course, I'm incredibly grateful to Charlie for facilitating all of this. Firstly, we have The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. Still shocked by how fast I read the first book. I read the second book earlier this year, and it's a series that I am enjoying for fantasy escapism. I'm glad that I waited until I'm the age that I am, because I would not have appreciated this as much when I was younger. Hopefully, after I read this one, I can then buy them in batches of 3. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that, because I have been reducing the number of books on my TBR this year, and just having these few books that I've received and seeing the number go up has left me feeling like there are too many books on my shelves again. So we have The Dragon Reborn. I can't say much about it because, quite honestly, there isn't a blurb on the back and I don't know what's going to happen in this series. Anyway, Charlie got me that because she said that she knew I enjoyed that series, but then got me this next one as a book that we could possibly read and enjoy together, and that is The Night Alphabet by Joelle Taylor. I don't know much about this book, but when people were talking about books earlier in the year, it was one that I thought sounded like it suited my sensibilities. We'll read the blurb together and remind ourselves why. A woman walks into a tattoo parlour, but this is no ordinary woman, and this is Hackney in 2233. Jones's body is covered in tattoos, but she wants to add one final inking to her gallery, a thin line of ink mixed with blood that connects her body art together, creating a unique map. As the two artists set to work, Jones tells them the story behind each tattoo. As Jones is no ordinary woman, these are no ordinary stories. Each one represents a doorway to a life Jones fell into, a remembering. Some of these lives were in the past, others in the future. Some are sideways, but each of them connects Jones to the two tattoo artists in some way, though they are unaware of it. Composed of interconnecting stories set across geographies and time spans, we visit the dystopian cities of the Quiet Men, the coal mines of 19th century Lancashire, join a gang of vigilante sex workers, enter the world of an incel murderer, haunt the old Maryville gay bar, and uncover plans to genetically modify female children. Each story brings us closer to Jones's truth and how her life is intricately interwoven with that of the women tattooing her body. Now I remember why I like the sound of this, because the blurb reminded me of Thrust by Lydia Yuknovich, which I read last year. Weirdly, Charlie chose this as a book that we could read together, and I know that she did not like Thrust last year, but maybe it's because it's interconnected tales. It does sound like it's going to be weird. It sounds like it's going to appeal to that part of me that likes David Mitchell and this more surreal fiction, so we will see with this one. Then we move on to books that my mother got me. First we have Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I didn't know there were some negative reviews of this book until after I'd asked for it, which is just hilarious to me. I didn't know that Charlie had DNF'd it. I'd completely forgotten that. It's going to be funny to me to read this one. I didn't read this person's poetry collection years ago when it came out, but I was interested in it, and then I saw that they were releasing a novel and I thought, yeah, this is great, this is something I am interested in, and now I'm hearing not so good things about it. But, you know, as I regularly say, opinions are like arseholes, we don't have to share them. And then the next one is Normal Women by Ainslee Hogarth, simply because I really enjoyed Mother Thing by this author earlier in the year. When I discovered they had another book out, I decided that I wanted it, so I asked for it. New mother Danny has a lot going on. She's just moved back to her hometown where her father was once known as the Garbage King. She's fed up of not being a manicure-sporting, perfectly coiffed normal woman. That's perfectly coiffed normal woman. And most of all, she's worried that her seemingly healthy husband, Clark, will drop dead, leaving her and her new baby, Lottie, destitute. And then Danny discovers the temple. Ostensibly a yoga centre, the temple and its guardian Renata are committed to helping people reach their full potential. And if that sometimes requires sex work, so be it. Finally, Danny has found something she could be good at, even great at. Meaningful work that will protect her and Lottie from poverty and provide true economic independence from Clark. But just as she's preparing to embrace this opportunity, Renata disappears, leaving Danny to step into another role entirely, detective. I said I wanted to read anything that this author created. It's 2 hours since I recorded this video, and my sister has since been to the house. It turns out that she's feeling somewhat better today, so she decided she'd come around on one of her breaks from work and bring me my birthday present, which was another 2 books, bringing the grand total in this video up to 6 books received for my birthday. The first one is The Borrowed Hills by Scott Preston. I only found out about this book a couple of weeks ago. Charlie was asking me to speculate with her about what I thought would make it onto the book along list, and I was looking up books that were eligible. It mentioned foot and mouth disease among a sheep farming community in Cumbria. And I can remember foot and mouth disease from when I was younger. It was around about 2001, and my dad's entire herd of sheep were culled due to foot and mouth disease. I put this as a poem in the collection that I released last year, that he got interviewed by a newscaster from ITV, and they asked him how he felt, and he just ended it with, well, how do you think I feel? I think it's one of those topics where people were like, well, the farmers aren't really upset, it's only about, they're just upset because of the money lost, not recognising the dichotomy of the strange relationship that farmers have with the livestock. But I can just recall the sadness that a lot of farmers felt around this time, the anger, the frustration, the way that it did almost not tear communities apart, but it created rifts between farmers who perhaps had been friends for years because they were looking for somebody to blame. This book interested me because of my family history surrounding the topic that it was talking about. And then we have The Moonlight Market by Joanne Harris, and when I saw this, I was like, my sister knows me incredibly well. She said that what she did was she read through the blurbs of every single one of the books on the list that Charlie had sent her, and she just, these 2 were the ones that stood out to her, and I was just like, you know me. So this is Joanne Harris's take on an urban fantasy novel. Orphaned, lonely, and lost in his photography work, Tom has no intention of falling in love. And yet love finds him in the shape of beautiful Versa, who lives a dangerous double life in the heart of London's King's Cross. Tom's pursuit of Vanessa leads him to discover an alternate world, hidden amongst the streets and rooftops of London, and inhabited by strange and colourful beings. In this mysterious realm, 2 ancient factions, one of night, one of day, have waged war for centuries over a forbidden love and a long-lost prince of sun and starlight. But when Tom finds a secret market that appears only in moonlight, where charms and spells are bought with memories, he starts to wonder whether he's been here before. For a long time, I said that Joanne Harris was my favourite author. She was one of the first writers of adult fiction whose works I read. I still talk about the lollipop shoes and everything to do with that. I adore her writing and her craft. And when I heard that this book was going to be released, I was thrilled enormously. I think it's always interesting when one of your favourite writers also happens to decide that they're going to start working and writing in one of your favourite genres as well. Joanne Harris has written takes on the urban fantasy before. There has been magic and magic adjacent goings on in Chocolat, the Lollipop Shoes, Peaches from Monsieur Le Carré, and The Strawberry Thief. It is not something she shied away from. She wrote novels which were fantastical before, but this is the first time where I felt like we're getting the alternate world and the real world blend together, which I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Indeed, when I saw that my sister had got this for me, I did consider throwing out all of my reading plans to go to this one, for it is only 283 pages, and I wonder whether it's going to link back to some of the rewritten fairy tales that the author has done before. But them's the books. If you recommend that I prioritise any of these books over others, then please feel free to let me know which ones in the comments. Have you read any of these? Do you think that you are going to pick any of these up now, having heard the blurbs? Let me know. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.